All right, so our next unit is called factors and multiples. And what we're going to look at today are rules for divisibility as well as factors. All right, so you do get this chart in your modules, and it basically gives us rules for divisibility if a number is divisible by 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 10. Just to make it a little bit easier when you're looking at numbers and trying to figure out what numbers they're divisible by. So the first rule is if a number is divisible by 2, you just have to check if the number is even. So if the number ends with 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, then yes, it will be divisible by 2. So the example here is 526. Is it divisible by 2? Yes, because that last digit there, the 6, it is an even number. All right, how do we know if a number is divisible by 3? So the trick for this one is adding up the digits. All right, so if you add up the digits, and if the sum of the digits of the number is divisible by 3, then yes, it is divisible by 3. So for example, here we have 534. Is it divisible by 3? Add the digits. So 5 plus 3 plus 4, that gives me the number 12. Is 12 divisible by 3? Yes, it is. All right, so then you know that it is divisible by 3. All right, how do we know if a number is divisible by 4? If the last two digits are divisible by 4, then it will be divisible by 4. Okay, so for number 2, you're just looking at the last two digits. So for example, 728, just look at the last two digits, 28. And yes, if 28 is divisible by 4, then it is, that whole number is divisible by 4. Okay, for 5, that should be familiar already. If the last digit ends with a 5 or 0, then yes, it will be divisible by 5. So 685, the last digit is 5, so yes. Number 6, how do we know if it's divisible by 6? Two things. It has to be an even number, and then the sum of the digits. So 732, it ends with a 2, so it is even. Next, we would add the digits. So 7 plus 3 plus 2 is a 12. Is 12 divisible by 3? If so, then it is also divisible by 6. And lastly is 10. You should already be familiar with this. If the last digit is a 0, then it is divisible by 10. So we have 9,870. Yes, it will be divisible by 10 because it ends with a 0. All right, so let's try some. Let's try this first one. Is 9,368 divisible by 3? All right, so the rule for divisibility by 3 is you have to add up the digits. And if the sum of the digits is divisible by 3, then yes, the number is divisible by 3. So let's add that up. So we have 9 plus 3 plus 6 plus 8, and that gives me 26. All right, is 26 able to divide by 3 evenly? No, it isn't, so we would say no. So our next question is 917 divisible by 4. Let's go to our rule for 4. We just have to look at the last two digits. Okay, the last two digits of 917 are 17. Is 17 divisible by 4? It is not. So we would say 917 is not divisible by 4 either. All right, the last one. Here we have 4,950. Is it divisible by 5? The rule for 5 is it has to end with a 5 or 0, and this last digit ends with a 0, so therefore yes, it will be divisible by 5. So next we are looking at factors. So if a number f divides evenly into another number, m, we would say that the number m is a factor of m. And I'll explain that a little bit more in more detail. But think about a number. If you have the number, let's say 12, right? What numbers go into 12? So 1 and 12. So the smallest factor of all numbers would be 1. And the largest factor of all numbers is the number itself, right? Because 1 times 12 gives me 12. Then you can list all the other factors of a particular number. All right, it's just the same as finding all the numbers that divided evenly into this particular number. So if we look at 12, all the factors of 12, so we know 1 and we know 12. What would be the other factors of 12? So we know 2 and 6, right? Because 2 times 6 gives us 12. We also know 3 and 4 give us 12. Any other factors giving us 12? All right, so there are no other factors of 12, so we have listed them, and I did make sure to list them in order. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. All right, let's try this one here. List all the factors of 28. All right, so first example, the first two factors are always 1 and the number itself. So I've already put 1 and 28 here. And I would just have to figure out the numbers in between. All right, so 2 and 14 give me 28, as well as 4 and 7. All right, so those are all the factors of 28. And again, I've written them in order. So 1, 2, 4, 7, 14, and 28. All right, so for the next one, all the factors of 45. So we're going to start with our lowest, which is 1, our highest, which is 45. And now we just have to figure out the rest of them. So 3 times 15 gives me 45, as well as 5 times 9 will also give me 45. All right, and those are all the factors for 45. Okay, so listing all the factors of 18. So like I've said before, start with the lowest, which is 1, and then the highest, which will be 18. All right, and then 18 is divisible by 2 and 9, right? Because 2 times 9 is 18, and then 3 times 6 gives us 18 as well. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 18. And then all the factors of 50. So again, start with your lowest and highest. So 1 and 50. All right, then 2 times 25 will give me 50. And 5 times 10 will give me 50. And that's it. So 1, 2, 5, 10, 25, and 50. All right, the last slide here we're looking at is finding the missing factor or divisor x in each question below. So you're given 2 times x is equal to 60. What would this missing factor be? If we had 27 divided by x to give us 3, what would our x equal to? And here we have 28 is equal to 7 times x. What would x be there? All right, so this first question here, we have to figure out the missing factor. So 2 times x will give me 60. So what would x be here? It has to be 30, because 2 times 30 will give me the 60. So for this question here, 27 divided by x will give me 3. So what number divided by x to give me 3? That there would have to be 9. 27 divided by 9 will give me the answer of 3. So that's the factor there. And then here, it is written the other way. It's 28 is equal to 7 times x. But either way, even if it was written 7 times x is equals to 28. We still have to figure out what x would be. So here x would be equal to 4 because 7 times 4 gives me 28.